excited. So if you came in, you should have signed up because we're going to have a brand new newsletter. So even if you were in the old one, you want to make sure that you sign into both mine and Sharon's notepad. Sharon can pass, yeah, that's fine. And then we'll make sure that for every event, we'll be sending out a reminder for events, and you can send me or Sharon questions, comments on anything as we go through the season, okay? Also, as you came in, what you should have gotten was our calendar of events, all the dates that we'll have for the season. Today we're starting out with homeopathy with some great giveaways for vitamins. Next month we'll be doing, it's a return from what we did last season with the do-it-yourself deodorant, but we're also adding a skincare workshop, so we'll be talking about different products that you can use for your skin. Then we're going to be doing, in October, gut health is kind of, I wouldn't say it's becoming an obsession of mine, but it's definitely something that when you look into the connection of gut health and brain health, and the relation between the two, it's really, really fascinating stuff. So we'll be doing a whole bit on that as far as preparing your microbiome for the holidays. And then the big event that we're going to be having is in November, where we're going to be having a plant-based Thanksgiving feast here. Tons of meals, and we're going to have all the staff are going to be invited to come as well as you guys. So come ready to eat lots of delicious and healthy foods.
Trying new things.
Yes, right.
With dessert recipes?
We can have
You can
some
have
recipes.
recipes.
Fine,
Some
sure,
are
yeah,
some
why
are
not?
recipes, and other things are like Dia already made pumpkin cheesecake, things like that.
Okay.
Vendors that have given me coupons to go and purchase the stuff to make. But I am going to be making a root. Roasted root vegetables out of the garden, so you'll have that. I'm not sure exactly, I know we have turnips and beets so far, but I'm not sure what else we'll have.
Yeah, but that's going to be the big one, so you definitely want to come for that one. So yeah, like I said, just make sure that you're signed up so you're in the loop with things, and any comments, questions, things that you would like to see us do for next season. We're always taking ideas for the future, so just let us know. It's nice to have everyone back too, a lot of familiar faces, so that's great. So today we're talking about homeopathy, and talking about this issue is a broad one, because I think it's important to keep in mind how homeopathy is also kind of related to just alternative medicine in general. We're not professional physicians, but health, being able to heal oneself, I think is important. That's kind of what this whole series is about. So we might branch off tonight on conversations on health and medicine in general within the realm of homeopathy, but it's just important to remember this is kind of why we're all here. And certainly not to exclude what your primary physician gives you, but this is just it's a home base. It's something that you can do yourself, and all the things that we'll be talking about are things that are relatively inexpensive and that you can do for yourself. So talking about homeopathy, outside of the US, these remedies are, for a lot of countries, the first lines of defense against ailments. Things like the common cold, muscle pain, fatigue, before one would go to a doctor for these issues. These are things that are, I won't say proven, but there are statistics that show that these are things you can remedy on your own without the help of traditional medicine.
And there are a lot of homeopathic doctors in Europe.
Yeah, right.
And the royal family supposedly uses
England
homeopathy.
gives it this sort of, royal treatment where it's a cherished thing that is in the homes of a lot of,
widely accepted.
And in this country, I don't know. I mean, you do research on a topic like this, and there's more information that's placed on discrediting this, which we can perhaps talk about, as opposed to the number of cases of people who have been able to treat themselves with basic remedies, which is what this is really boiling down to.
Can I mention something on
Please,
that?
yeah.
So recently I saw another video, I'll have to remember, I can find it in my little archives in the computer, but it was showing why homeopathy has started to be discredited in the United States.
Yeah.
When the big pharmaceutical companies started coming on board, a lot of people in the US were using homeopathy. And so they started using trial studies, the pharmaceutical companies, to disprove the homeopathy. So they had it where it had every single person in the trial study of 144 people had to all have the same exact results. Otherwise, they deemed it inconclusive, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Because everybody in this room would come out with something different. You know, it might be similar, but it would definitely not all be the same. So this went for every single thing that they kept doing. And then, you know, doctors would tell patients, well, it's not been proven, or the studies show that this doesn't work. However, the studies were never fairly done. And it goes into, it's like an 1.5 hour long video, and it goes into how the case study should have been done and the results that you would get if you tried certain things, especially like arnica being proven. That was one of them that was discredited, and yet arnica is widely used in the United States and by a lot of different doctors and sports medics also.
Yeah, sports medicine is an interesting, another kind of closeted case of big results from homeopathy. But a little history on the term. It comes from a German physician from the 18th century, so it's been around for a second, by Samuel Hahnemann. It's important to keep in mind that at this time period in history, a lot of what we deem now to be traditional medicine, was the budgeting time for traditional sciences. So something like homeopathy stood toe-to-toe with a lot of the traditional cases that we deal with today. So, you know, there were not breakdowns of alternative versus traditional. This was all kind of experimental and all fresh and open for dialogue between the disciplines. But the things that distinguished it was the case of against traumatic treatment of a patient. So if you had a case of something like a cold, for instance, there would be intense procedures of bleeding the cold out of you, for instance. And something like homeopathy treatments, homeopathy coming from the term of like cures like. So in other words, a fever would be fed by a fever in order to slowly cure the patient. But this would be ways to eliminate traumatic procedures like surgery if you could first cure it yourself. It's a slower process. Usually only one single component was prescribed to a patient at a time and to see how the results would go. So a patient would not go and say, I have this, you know, I need immediate cure. It would be an elongated process. And there are pros and cons to that kind of outlook when it comes to medicine. But I guess the first question, Sharon, I guess we should talk about is, how is homeopathy different from maybe traditional medicine today?
Well, the biggest, you know, an obvious reason, the way is what you mentioned, is it's a slower way of doing things. So, and it's taking it's like going to get an immunization. You know, you get something that you have a small amount injected into you. It's the same premise where you take a homeopathic remedy and it puts a little bit of that back into your system so that you can fight it off naturally. Whereas traditional medicine, you go to the doctor, you get the prescription, it's a chemical, and it alters or changes receptors in your body to alleviate the problem. But if you think about like a lot of the traditional medicines, for instance, like you mentioned, colds. So when you have a cold and your head's all stuffed up and you're all full of mucus, you know, we want the immediate cure. We want it to go away. But we need to expel all of that to get it out of the body. But if we go to the doctor, they might give us a pill to suppress it or make it go away. So suddenly, you know, our membranes are dry, but where did it go? We didn't expel it. it goes back down into our lungs. It's crystallized, it goes into our lung. So then that weakens our immune system. So the next time we come into contact with someone or the next time we get sick, it gets activated again, comes back up. We go to the doctor, we get another pill, back down, pills again. So we're not really taking care of it. Yes, it goes away and we continue to function, we go back to work, we feel better the next day, you know, we're not stuffy, but we're so used to wanting that immediate fix, that immediate reaction, that we don't think about how it's not natural. It's, you know, working with nature, it took a while for that to come on us. We might have suddenly felt sick one day, but we didn't get sick that quick. You know, our immune system was being dragged down. It brought us to that point where we got the sinus infection or we got the cold. So our body also needs to take that same time and work its way back up to health. So that's a huge difference. There's a few little things about homeopathy too. When you're taking the pellets, I don't know if any of you have ever taken the pellets. The boron pellets are like this. Usually a dose is 5 of these tiny little pellets in here, and you will turn it on, turn it upside down, and there's a little cap once you pull it, and you want to move it back and forth to put the 5 little pellets down in here. There's a couple things you have to be really careful. You can't touch the palm, you can't put them in the palm of your hand because the perspiration will negate how it works. It won't work for you. You also can't ingest caffeine or mint. So you can't for about an hour, maybe 2 hours at the most, but an hour definite. So you can't like pop this under your tongue, let it dissolve, and then go brush your teeth with mint, because then it's not going to work for you. There's a few little things, and caffeine also works the same way. It binds to minerals and vitamins. So that's, you know, it's a good reminder to always not do caffeine with any kind of, even medicines, traditional medicines. A lot of times now I've seen some scripts that say, you know, not to take with coffee. The caffeine binds to things and pulls it through our blood system rapidly, so it doesn't, you know, give us the full effect of what we're looking for.
Do you think, so a lot of the things that I've looked at have the treatments for things, right? Things that are already upon us. Are there things within homeopathy that might have preventative measures, something you could take maybe regularly that can prevent, say, X, Y, and Z from happening?
You could use homeopathy that way, but it's really more geared towards a specific ailment or symptom. If you took arnica, for instance, in the pellets, if you were going to the dentist and you know that your mouth is going to incur a trauma. If you're having your tooth pulled or you just don't do well with fillings or anything, you'd benefit from taking arnica prior to going to the doctors or the dentist, because you're going to help prepare your mouth for the trauma that it's about to have. But most of the homeopathic remedies work after the fact or to help. The only one, the flu remedy that I call the O flu remedy because of the Ascocilium, that one is best to take immediately on the onset. Like if you think you have the flu or you come into contact, your best results will be if you take it immediately. You can take it later, but it'll take longer, it'll be a longer process for your body to work
I know
with.
that the day before the flu sets on, I know the feeling where everything's just fatigued.
And that's when you should definitely
right.
be taking it. There's a 12-hour window that if you catch it within that time frame, you'll definitely benefit.
Yeah.
The same thing, you know, they have different remedies for if you get hives. I mean, pretty much there's a remedy for everything. And there's a difference. We're going to talk about herbs and also supplements. Okay, I don't want to get ahead
My
of
next
myself.
question, yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Would that be, I mean, what about that airborne that they sell, airborne for the immune system to help prevent? Did you ever see that?
I have seen it. I don't think it's homeopathic though.
No, it isn't, but I mean, that's supposed to be a preventive, you know.
Definitely, there are other preventatives. One preventative, the one on the corner. This Sambucus or elderberry, black elderberry, that is definitely something that people could take, you know, like let's say anytime after Halloween before the flu season really hits. If you took a teaspoon of this every day, that's supposed to help be a preventative.
Oh, great.
So elderberry is one of the known immune system boosters. Zinc is also something that if you don't take zinc any other time during the year, that's a good thing to take, even if you take like one zinc lozenge a day. Then same company, Nature's Way, makes a zinc lozenge that has vitamin C in it. But you want to be careful with zinc also, because anything over 100 milligrams will actually start to work the opposite. So over 100 starts dragging your immune system into the negative instead of the positive. So you want to be really careful, because those lozenges have 23 milligrams of zinc. So it's very easy, if you have a sore throat, you start and you go to work and at 8 o'clock in the morning you pop your first lozenge, you're going to go through more than 4, and then you'd be over your limit. Plus, if you have any zinc in any of your minerals or your multivitamins, you want to make sure you just check with that so that you know where you're at. But there's a lot of different things like that you could take. Some people take echinacea to help with your immune system. But that one has a little glitch to it too. That's something that you should only be on for a few weeks and then go off and go back on. Because if you stay on it continually, that one will suppress your own immune system, so your own immune system doesn't activate and take care of itself. You would constantly need to have that echinacea, so you want to be careful about that too.
Quick question. Like for my little guy, I typically use this thing called Highlands, and
Yes.
they have like the cough, they have the runny nose.
Colic one, they have
The
everything.
colic, I've been using it since he was a baby. But at what point do they conduct some kind of studies on children and the use of like this, for instance, for colds? And would it be safe to give that to?
They say, I would still do a little research on my own, but they say that a 2-year-old and up could take any of the homeopathic remedies. And some people give it to their children younger. It just depends on what you feel comfortable with. The Calms has been tested and tested and tested. They've taken actually some of their products off the market because a few years back there was a claim of a child that got sick because of one of the remedies. It was proven later that it had nothing to do with that, but the Highlands took it off the market anyway. And also one thing, I'm glad you brought up Highlands, it's one thing that's different than the boron. Highlands it's kind of one of those things that it says it's a trace amount, but if somebody had a severe milk allergy, the Highlands would be something to be cautious with, because their products are all coated with a drop of sugar from milk sugar. So it could trigger something. Most people think they're allergic to milk, but it's really just a sensitivity or maybe a little bit of an allergic reaction, but not a lot of people have a true allergy to it or diagnosed that way. So that'd be the only real caution with that.
So, what our topic today is homeopathy, but it's also, if we could make a distinction between herbal medicine.
Yes.
What would you say the split is?
So the homeopathy, like you said, is like cures like. So it's a whole different premise of just something within itself. It's like a whole different group. And to be
Right.
honest with you, years ago, I didn't believe it until I saw it work in several different ways on people. And I actually used the arnica when I fractured my ankle. It was the only thing that would work to make me be able to put my foot down on the pillow. It took the pain away. Herbs work different because they are botanical. So they're either a flower, a tree, a root, a leaf. They're a part of a plant or a tree or a root, that works in a synergy with our body. So it works to take the symptom away, similar to traditional medicine, but it does it in an herbal way. And there's different forms of herbs. We talked about, the few of you I recognize, we've been here through all the classes, we talked about the organic India, the adaptogens. So some herbs are adaptogens, so they work in our body to balance things out, so they take the stress away from our body so that everything else functions normally. And then other herbs work to target certain illnesses. And then there's also broad herbs that will claims of doing everything from A to Z. So they'd be more like a well-being herb to just help boost your immune system, help keep everything in check. And there's a difference even within herbs. There's standardization. Some herbs are standardized. A doctor sometimes will tell you, go and get a 350 milligram standardized of such and such. So the difference is, you can have a full spectrum herb, which means you get everything. You get every part of it. It's not touched. It's exactly how Mother Nature intended it. When you standardize something, you take that constituent. Like for instance, turmeric is a perfect example. So if you turmeric in general, you're going to get the root, the rhizome. You get everything all in one. If you want the standardized form, you're going to look for something that says curcumin. And then you're going to see what it's standardized, if it's 250 milligrams, whatever the milligram that you're looking for. So what that means is they've taken that curcumin out of the turmeric, they've standardized it in a clinical way, and then they've put it back in. So they have changed the synergy of the herb by doing that. But if you want something that you know is guaranteed to give you that amount, there's a huge controversy. It's pretty much either you're on one side of the fence or the other. I personally like the synergy of the herb, the way nature intended it, without messing it up at all.
Right.
But some people feel more comfortable knowing that yes, they're going to get that 250 milligrams guaranteed with each one. So it's kind of preference. And you can use herbs, whether it's in the herbal form or I brought some teas. So there's teas that you can use. It's just the strength is not the same. It's not as strong. And there's such a wide variety of ways that you can take herbs. I brought some liquids over here. So these are liquid tinctures. So these are highly concentrated liquids that would be your most desired form. We have some water in cups if anybody wants to try anything afterwards and see what a tincture would taste like. This goes into your bloodstream right away. So immediately it's going to start working, targeting for the problem that it's supposed to take care of. That's your best delivery. Then the next option would be powder, which we have some powders over here, and also that fermented one. So you could either have your choice of regular turmeric root or fermented turmeric. I gotta move over or something.
I can lower the blend.
Okay, thanks. So adding powder to water would give you your closest to your natural liquid form. So that would be also rapidly into your system, just not quite as fast as highly concentrated. It wouldn't be as concentrated. And then you go down the tier to a soft gel, or actually a liquid gel first, because again, it's the liquid in a gel. Then you would have like a veggie cap, and then the last and least desired method would be any kind of pressed tablet, because that's either pharmaceutically glazed or food glazed, and your stomach has to work harder and produce, digestive enzymes to break it down. Whereas
that's interesting.
with this,
Yeah.
there's nothing. The stomach doesn't have to do anything. It's immediate. You pop it under your tongue. It's going to go into your bloodstream. Anything else, depending on if you're alkaline or acid that day, who knows if it breaks down. Sometimes, it doesn't even break down. So you have no guarantee you're going to get that. So if you can handle the liquid, that would be your first most desirable form.
So those tinctures, what brand are you recommending?
I just brought these. These are mine. I like this brand, but I also use Garden of Life.
I love cayenne.
You want to pass me those boxes of Garden of Life?
And do you prefer that than making your own?
Whoops, sorry. I have made some, but these are so easy that, if you have the ability and you have enough of the herb to make your own, then that's fantastic. But if not, I like this company. I was fortunate enough to go out and visit with them years ago and study with the person that owns the company, and I really love the tinctures. I was completely convinced by one product, this peppermint spirits. For years, I used to drink, just put a couple drops of peppermint, another brand, in my water and drank it throughout the day for digestion. And when the rep first came into the store and said, what would it take to convince you? What do you take? And I said, well, I take this every day. And he said, you know, if you take this and you think it works, will you bring in the line? And I said, sure. I really didn't expect it to be any different, but I was blown away and amazed at the difference in that product versus what I was taking.
And what is that one?
This one's called Herb Farm.
Herb Farm?
They're very picky. The company is very high standard. The company, if you have a compound, let's see, fungus fighter, did I bring fungus fighter?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, so anything that has more than one item in it is considered a compound, so they require 3 people to be present every time a compound is poured. So the chance of a mistake happening is really slim. And even if it does, at the end of the day, everything goes through the computer again, and it's checked before it goes out on the FedEx. This is something I would never live without. It used to be called,
Peppermint, or just
no,
the-
this fungus fighter.
Fungus
I
fighter.
keep this in the house all the time. This
I
used to
can't wait
be,
to try that.
this used to be called Splanthus usnea. Yeah, this is the old Splanthus usnea that you've taken forever. And last night, I cut myself, and the first thing I ran to do was put the fungus fighter on it. They changed their labels about 2 years ago because no one knew what Splanthus usnea was. But if you go into a store and you see something that says fungus fighter, you have more of a clue of what you're looking for. This one has Splanthus, it has usnea, it has Paudiarco, which is really known as a super deep cleanser in the body. It's antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. So this is something that, like if people are going to another country and they are going to be drinking water a week before they leave, good idea to start taking the tincture. And a dose is usually what you could bring up in a dropper. So you don't have to, it will tell you how many drops, and unless there are some that are strong. So if it says 4 drops, don't do more than 4 drops. But if it says a dropper full, then it's basically whatever you can suck up in that.
And you take it always in water instead of directly?
I don't
From your
take it in
hand.
water, but it's strong. So if you're used to it, I like to just pop it under my tongue. But I wouldn't suggest that for anybody if they've never done it before. Some of these are strong. This one, I believe, has oregano.
The oregano one
Yeah.
is burns.
Yeah, it's the oregano and the Splanthus mixed together make it burn.
Oh, just the plain oregano
yeah.
burns.
Yeah, that one does burn. It doesn't burn as bad as the cayenne.
I would never do that one.
Would the peppermint help with the gut health?
Peppermint is your lowest tier of what you would want to, but it's a good place to start instead of, starting with more invasive things. I got off tangent, I was gonna say something. Oh, other companies besides Herb Farm. So this company has, these are sprays. So these are kind of the top of the line sprays. This is a B12 and this one's a vitamin C spray. This one has all the certifications. So this is one thing that I look for. I try to use a whole food base because there's also another difference in vitamins, whether it's whole food concentrate or whether it's synthetic. And most of the vitamins that people take are synthetic. And there's different qualities of synthetic. There's some that are better than others. The ones that are better are produced to mimic as close as possible the whole concentrate, but some of the others that are not, and that are just cheaply made synthetic, they don't work the same in the body. The body doesn't recognize it. So in a way, we're wasting our money. And I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but a good example of something that has a lot of negative things in it is Centrum vitamins, because they have, it's either 17 or 19 excipients in it. And we're talking talc, yellow dye, aluminum. Where do all these things go in your body? And what's the purpose of it? There is no purpose. Why would we want to put dye in our system? Why would we want to take that on a daily basis? But when you go to the store and you don't think of all those things or you don't know that, you look at the price and you see $12.99, and then you go over to the whole food concentrate one and it's $34.99. So you think, well, I can't afford that. But in reality, if you purchase the $34.99 and you only took it once every 3 days, you would still be doing your body better care than if you took the synthetic one with the aluminum, with the talc, with the dye, all the things that the body has no place to put. You know, it's gonna get stored somewhere in your body, and it isn't gonna be in a healthy way. So you're still better to do something that's, you know, in a whole food concentrate, which is taking straight forms of food, whether it's the actual vitamin C, you know, a component, a bioflavonoid from the orange, or some form of it. This company is also certified organic. You look at the little symbols, and non-GMO. You pay for a lot of these certifications. If it's organic, it's 95%. If it's certified, it's 95% organic. So that means that you don't have to worry about, you know, if there's strawberry in here, you don't have to worry that it's a pesticide strawberry because it's organic and it's not GMO. So there's a lot of things that come to play with when you go to buy your vitamins or your herbs. And, you know, like I said, you don't have to take that expensive one every single day. I actually don't even take a vitamin. I don't think I take anything every day except I do take ubiquinol for heart because I have really huge heart issues on both sides of the family. So that I take that as a preventative.
Yeah.
But everything else I take when I think I need it. I do take vitamin C almost every day because it's super easy just to spray this in your mouth. And also that's a great immune system booster, the same as your elderberry, and it's easy, simple and easy.
Is that sold locally or online?
You could get it online, but most health food stores, and Wegmans also carries the full line also. Pretty much everything that I have, you're gonna be able to find at Wegmans, with the exception of this Omega Memory with curcumin. I think I got that at Feel Right, but you can get that online directly from the company.
So you're about to maybe take a cleanse. What's something that you would recommend taking as something?
She just did a cleanse.
Really? Yeah?
Yeah, a 3-day detox.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you take?
It was kind of like a smoothie one where
Yeah.
you drink like 4 smoothies a day, and it's made with like veggies, fruits, coconut oil, almond butter, different stuff. And then you take at the same time an omega supplement, a multivitamin, and a probiotic.
Probiotic. Okay.
And then you do a detox bath at night.
Oh yeah, and a detox bath with
that
Epsom
sounds
salt
great.
and lavender. Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay.
And there's so many different cleanses out there. You just have to be careful because if you have, you know, like say if you're hypoglycemic or, you know, you have some issues or you take medication, you want to be careful doing cleanses because your body's going to be stripping things.
Right.
And sometimes people get sick during a cleanse because the body is bringing up that mucus and bringing up things that you've suppressed in your body for years. So you might go through an illness while you're doing a cleanse. You never know.
The same they say when you, like, you know, when I go to my chiropractor and they say you might get sick after this because a lot of that toxic
It's
toxicity
released.
has been released. Yeah, right. But something like, you know, a fungus fight or anything like that that we have here that might be good as a
As a cleanse?
Yeah,
Um,
during cleanse.